Hello everyone, welcome to the product training presentation on topic of devices. This is the part 2 of the series. I'm Fatima and I'm going to talk to you about how to access the device details tab and what each tab entails and what are the functionalities within. And also I'm going to talk about native interface and what it is and how it works. So before we get started, let's see what topics are we going to cover in this presentation. The first topic is device phases and connections. So what are phases, what are connection, and what icons are there to identify each phase and connection. The next topic we have is overview of all device steps. So once you click on a device from a table view or from a map view or a tree map view, you will see a detailed section of that device, and it will entail various tabs, and each tab have a specific functionality and a reason, and we'll go through them one by one. The next up we have is atomic versus aggregate health. So what is an atomic health? What is aggregate health? How it affects the actual device health? And the last but not the least, we have native interface. So let's get started. So the very first thing I'm going to talk about is device phases. So explained in the last presentation about actually registering the device. So once you register a particular device, it goes through various steps and phases. So the very first phase that it goes through is provisioning. Provisioning is a phase in which we calculate the amount of space it needs. The intended node will need, and whether we have that intended space or not. We will also check whether we have a translator, whether we need a translator, or whether we have a translator for that particular intended node or not. So all the requirement gathering processing will be done on the provisioning tab. Now the next phase will be provision. So once we get all that requirements gathered and we confirm that this node will get registered easily and we have all the necessary requirements, it gets into the provision phase. The next phase is commissioning. So the commissioning step is the actual process of creating a communication between the hardware and the IoT platform. So the process in which we try to create a connection, try to pass data back and forth to the actual hardware is the commissioning phase. Once that communication is established and it's working well, it goes into the commission state, and this is the icon for that. Once the node is in commission process, it is ready to go live. So once it's live, it goes into the production mode. The production mode suggests that the node is live and is transferring data back and forth, and we are collecting data from it. So when you delete a device, it goes into a decommissioning state right here. Decommissioning state is just reverting all the steps that we did in the commissioning process. So deleting communication to the hardware, deleting walls, secure passwords, everything from the device that we have gained, and all the removal of the connection and data from it. Once that process is done, it goes into decommission mode. And the decommission mode suggests that we have successfully de-established entire communication from that particular node. So these were the device phases that it goes through in the lifetime of the node. The next up, we have device connections. So once that device is in production, we also need to see whether it is connected or disconnected every point of time. So we have two icons. One is for connected and one is for disconnected, to see whether that particular node is connected or disconnected. Next up, we have device steps. So for that, we go into the platform. So this is the device page as I explained earlier. So let's click on this device and see what it has. So these are the tabs that you will see for a node once you click on that device. The first tab we have is overview. So overview tab will have all the data relating to the analytics. So for a certain number of certain period of time that we have selected, what was the health of that device or the components or the connect, what was the connection of that node, will all be depicted right here in a graphically visually rich format. So before I explain about the charts, let me explain what is an aggregate health, what is an atomic health. So aggregate health and atomic health is the health of all the components. So if a device is of type complex nature, then it will have subcomponents attached to it. So atomic health are nothing but the health of all the components. So as you can see right here, this is a chart for the atomic health, chart for the aggregate health. The x-axis denotes the time and the y-axis denotes the components. So for each particular period of moment of time, this x denotes the highest point of the health that the component went through. So let's say the x denotes health 500. So at these points of time, these components was at health 500. This translates back to the aggregate health, and it also, the device health also shows as 500. So we flatten out all the component health and translate the highest point of health to back to the device. So this is how the aggregate and atomic health works. So let me show you on that on the screen. So here, as you can see, this is the atomic health and aggregate health. To show which components it is, we can enable the labels right from here. So as you can see, this component 4 is for a 3-hour period of time, it was in a critical mode. So this translated back to the aggregate health right here. So this is also a 500. This also shows 500 for the period of time that it was critical. The next heat map we have here is for connection. So for a selected period of time, what was the connection of that device? We can show it right here. If you want to see the gateway connection, you can click on this icon. It will open a model window for you, and this will show you the analytics data for the particular gateway. We have also option for pie charts as well. We have option of printing the chart, downloading various types of images. Also, we have option for downloading CSV and XLS as well. Also for the heat map, it goes for the same. We also have the pie views for all the rest of the charts, the heat map charts. This is the atomic pie chart. So by default, it will show you the all component stages. You can also select one component and see the health of that component in particular, right, like this. To change the time period for which you want to see the data, you can either select the predefined intervals, that is 1 hour, 3 hour, 12 hour, 3 day, 1 week, or you can go to the custom tab and select the absolute and relative range. So let me select this 1 week for you, and it will reload the entire data for 1 week. So as you can see right here, this is the data for the entire week. This particular pie will show you how many components are enabled on this particular device and how many are disabled. So as you can see here, there are 100%, all the components are enabled for this device. This little pie chart will show you the health of all the components in a pie format. And this part of the screen will show you the connection and health status for the gateway. So this was the overview tab. Let's go to the inventory. So the inventory tab is, if a device is of a complex type nature, it will have subcomponents, and inventories are that components. So inventory tabs is a way of showing that the subcomponents in multiple views. So this is one of the many views that we have. This is the file view format. It will show you in a folder and subfolder structure, and it is one way to see the data in a hierarchical order. This right here is a way of depicting the health and connection of the gateway, the device, and the total number of components that this device have, and how many of those are enabled on that device. So as you can see here, we can disable a particular component or enable. If it is disabled, it will show me enable right here. We can edit supplemental. So supplemental data are something that you can use to save your preferences for that particular component, for the particular device, and save that data to reuse later. We can rename the device, rename the component right from here. We can also open the details of the components. When we click on that, it will open an embedded view of that component. So this is the component, this is the analytics of that. We have the pies as well, like the rest of the overview tab. We have custom date range options. We have a pie showing the health. We have telemetry tab as well. So telemetries, as I said earlier in the previous presentation, are the set of properties that define the state of the node. So these are the attributes that are in unhealthy state right now. So it will show up on here. If any of the attributes are recently updated, it will show you up on this particular area. If you want to see all the attributes at once, you can select this as icon, and it will show you all the available attributes. Now to see analytics for a particular attribute, you can select on this and open a model window to show the analytics for that particular attribute. We have pi, we have value pi as well, and health pi. If we click on this view value, it will show up the value chart. So for the 3-hour period, the value of the this attribute has remained this. The next options we have, we can disable a particular attribute, we can rename that, we can manage issue also. So issues are a part of tracker service that we provide in our IoT platform. Trackers are something that we use to track the changes and track the um, advances of the attributes, components, etc. So if we create an issue for this particular attribute, it will track the changes of it and create an issue and notify the participants in that issue. If you want to know more about trackers and issue, please go and check the tracker based PPT performed by one of our colleagues. So also we have an export option, just like the device table. You can export the CSV and CSV and Excel for the raw data. The next tab that we have for the attributes are for the components are the details tab. So the health, the index, the type ID that it used, OEM model, version, everything is listed right here to see. The supplemental, as I said before, is to save the preferences for the component. By clicking on this button, you can go back to the inventory view that we came from. So we have a couple of ways to see that inventory. This was the file view. We can also see that in the table view as well. Right here. The same with the version, all the information right here in a tabular format. We also have a sunburst view. So it creates a hierarchical view in a sunburst format. So you can see the entire inventory in a graphically rich format and see the changes of the health changes of each component in a hierarchical view. Next up, we have tree view. So tree view is another way to see the hierarchy of all the components right here. You can see the bubbles depict the health of the component. The next view that we have is bubble view. So bubble view will help you to filter out the components based on their health. So as you can see right here, the critical health component is 1, component 4, and this is the 400, and this is the 300. So this is the nice way to see the component separated by their health. let's go back onto the file view. If you want to see the see the overview, analytics and analytics for the particular component real quickly, and you can also click on this name, and it will open a model window and provide analytics information right here. So you can see the analytics information just like the embedded version, and the telemetry option right here in a model window. So you don't have to change the view. You can just open a model and see the values and then close it, and the inventory value is back. So this was the inventory view of the device. The next step we have is alarms. So alarms are the page that for a particular device, and all the components that are in the warning mode or severe mode, it will show up on this tab. So we'll see in a minute. See in a minute. These are all the components. Component 1, 10, 2, 3, 4, whose attributes are in either warning, severe, or in critical stage. So this tab helps us in seeing all the components and the attributes which are in unhealthy state at once. So the monitoring gets easy. The values are right here to see. You can also see the analytics for a particular attribute right from here. We can also see the analytics for the component telemetry right from here. We can create issue for that particular attribute. As I said earlier, we can create issue to track that attribute changes. We can disable an attribute, we can rename it. Also, we can download the CSV and XLS data for the alarms. And this is the summary of all the alarms and warnings happening onto the system. The next tab we have is location. So location, as I said earlier, will give you the information about where the device is actually present. So as I have said, this is and you can change the latitude and longitude right from here by dragging it onto the map, and then clicking on save will save the updated latitude and longitude. Next up, we have clusters. So clusters are nothing but a way to group gateway and devices all together. So clusters is a group where different devices of different gateways can be of one group. So right now this device does not have a cluster attached to it. We can add cluster by clicking on this button. You can select this test and then add that device to this cluster. The next tab we have is telemetry. So if a device have system properties for that particular device, then it will show up on this tab. The next tab is observers. So as I explained previously, observers are a set of rules that changes the health for a particular device or component. So on this tab, we will see that if a component have a matching observer or not. So all the components that are enabled that are enabled should have an observer attached to it. So right here, as you can see, these are all the enabled components, and these are all the observers attached to it. We can view the observers and it will take you to the observers service. We can toggle the accordion panels like this. If a component is disabled, we will show you a message saying for an observer to be attached to this component, you need to enable that. And if a enabled component does not have an observer, we provide a create option right here to create an observer for that particular component. The next tab we have is details section. So the details section will have all the basic information about the device, and also will have the information about the type configuration that we had added while registering the device itself. The next step we have is supplemental. So supplemental, we can save the preferences for the device, whatever information that we want to save up for later. We can add to the supplemental right here. So these were all the tabs that we have for a device. Next up, we have native interface. So native interface is a way of accessing the third-party UI into our IoT platform. So we create a secure tunnel session and bring that third-party UI into our IoT platform and merge it for the embedded view. So let me demonstrate that for you. I'm selecting this device and accessing the native interface. So once it gets created, it can take up to 60 seconds to create the secure tunnel. And once that secure tunnel is created, the view will be shown like this. The entire third party view will be embedded into our platform, and you can enter your credentials and monitor the application that you have. So this is the native interface. If you want to know more about how this native interface works behind the scenes, you can check out the presentation by one of our colleagues on the same topic. So this was the summary and the training about devices. What are the devices? How we can use it on our platform, and what functionalities do we have provided in our platform. Thank you. Thank you for joining in. Hope it was useful. See you.